Big Ten executives are socializing a plan with member schools to move forward with their capital investment proposal, even without Michigan and USC. That per Ross Dellinger. The league has signaled to schools that it may hold a vote in 2 weeks to potentially adopt a 20-year, $2.4 billion capital deal. We're going to break this down now with Stephen Godfrey, who joins us, because I'm be honest, like I had to read the article like 3 times to try and understand it. Godfrey won't even look at he refuses to look at us right now. He's over us. We're gonna get him in just a second. We have a technology issue. Caroline, I had to watch or read the article 3 times to try and figure this out. Like, you're talking about private capital being invested and schools voting. And to be clear, in the beginning, the Big Ten said every school would have to be on board, including Michigan and USC. Everybody would have to be on board. Michigan and USC said, no, we're good. We don't want private capital to be any part of the Big Ten. So they said no. And now it sounds like instead the Big Ten is saying, well, we don't really care what you think. We're going to do this with or without you. Godfrey, like, can you help break this down like I'm a 5-year-old? Because I had to read it several times to figure it out. So make me smarter.
No, I'm also a 5-year-old. It's okay. Ross Dellinger educated us on the College Football Inquirer yesterday. The only thing you need to know if you're just a college football fan is that the have-not schools of the Big Ten want to stay tethered to the big brands of the Big Ten and will do anything possible to make that happen. So when I say tethered, I mean that some sort of grant of rights, obligation contractually, that like Ohio State and Michigan and maybe in this case USC and Oregon wouldn't leave and join some other bigger super league. Okay, everybody following us so far?
Yeah, got you so far.
Okay, so the grant of rights would extend on this deal. So what Ross is reporting out is that USC and Michigan are saying, hey, we don't like this. This is not money we need. This is not money we want to take. It's a little bit of being wary of capital investment and private equity, but it's also the bigger brands of the Big Ten, specifically USC and Michigan, although I would suspect that you would see behind the scenes Ohio State probably aligning with them more than the rest of the conference, saying, we want to keep our options open here. This doesn't make sense for us. This is a desperate move by the rank and file of the Big Ten to make sure that their like premier brands, their helmet schools, don't leave them in the dust in the next round of realignment in the early 2030s. That's basically all you need to know right now.
So let's move on to the fun stuff then. Let's move on to the football before everybody's eyes glaze over, mine included. Indiana survived a scare at Penn State, and we saw one of the best catches, if not the best catches of the entire season in the last 2 seconds of that game. Insane. I think there's 2 different ways that you can look at that. One, Indiana found a way to survive and good teams find a way to win. 2, maybe Penn State exposed some cracks in this Indiana team. Which belief do you subscribe to?
I would like to talk about both because I think both will serve Indiana in the long run. Indiana got all of the benefits of the, let's say, culture resetting loss that you have in college football sometimes where, look, 18 to 22-year-olds on a roster, that's a real thing. That's not a trope. You, week to week, have a really hard time sometimes maintaining a culture, maintaining a mentality, keeping guys focused, keeping guys locked in. You had the benefits of that loss without actually losing the game because that drive was like, look, we've seen a lot of game-winning drives in college football, but the amazing thing about that drive was that every single play was sort of a highlight, like every single one. Even on Penn State's side, that drive opens up with a sack of Mendoza. Penn State called a lot of really effective pressures and blitzes all the way down. And what you saw, I'm kind of betting on the fact that Saturday's slate was a little weak and that people were tuning in kind of like, my game hasn't started yet. Oh, there's an upset alert, whatever. Indiana driving down the field might have been the first time that a lot of people saw Indiana, believe it or not, because college football fans are still sort of rejecting this idea of the Hoosiers being elite. Those were NFL players at the skill positions, and they were without their leading receiver, right? This was an NFL quarterback hitting talent guys so far more talented than you've ever seen in an Indiana uniform, just cutting up that Penn State pressure down the field. And then ultimately, yes, one of the most, I don't know if it's like the greatest catch. It's hard to do superlatives. It was certainly physics defying that the momentum allowed him to have the toe in bounds before he kind of went out the back of the end zone. It was amazing.
So now that Indiana gets, let's say they get pushed in this, our producer, Mike, as we were meeting, said, Ohio State's clearly the number 1 team in the country, right? Are you there, Steve?
Mike.
Like, are we Are we clearly? Is Ohio State
Mike.
clearly the best team in the country?
Is Mike a Buckeye, or what are we doing here?
No.
Mike's from Ohio. He's from Cleveland.
He is from Ohio.
There you go. There you go.
I didn't want to disclose that because I thought I didn't want to.
Those people. Those people.
Important to point out. Yeah.
Those people. You know how they are. They are one of the best. They're one of the best programs in college football, and anything past that is probably a semantic argument. Just for fun, since we have to do this incredibly stupid thing on ESPN every Tuesday night where we re-rank it and it doesn't matter in 6 days, and we're just doing it for the television, and so people can argue and we can all pay our mortgages off arguing with each other until something actually happens. I would put Texas A&M number 1 this week, only because 3rd ranked win on the road in conference play against Missouri, but Ohio State, probably the most talented team in the country. I think there's an argument out there that they might have and I don't like to reduce college football to NFL terms, but 3-4 of the most talented players in college football in terms of like a draft evaluation. I think look, let me back up for a second. What Ryan Day has done, it's like the greatest trick the devil ever pulls is like convincing you it's not real. The greatest thing that Ryan Day has done in his time at Ohio State. Do you guys remember in going into week 1, there was a quarterback race? Do you guys remember that? Like they weren't settled on a starter at Ohio State. Absolute BS. Okay. It was an illusion. It was amazing. When you have the benefit of what Ohio State enjoys, which is the most talented roster in college football, you can take arguably a kid who could end up as the best quarterback in the game and slow play, like I can't take my Southern drawl out long enough. Slow play his development. Go back and look at what they asked him to do and what they asked him, or really what they didn't ask him to do, I should say, against Texas in that win, right? That was a defensive-led win. Arch comes in, hyped to the gills, and they grind out that win. Sayan has done nothing since that point that isn't just a little bit, incremental improvement, right? All these games that, unless you are a Buckeyes fan, you're probably not watching all 4 quarters of. I think there was some slowness on the offense against Ohio, like early September. This team gets better and better. They are, the verb I like to use is slow cooking, crock potting opponents, similar to that early era Saban Alabama. It's not fun to watch. It's not. For as talented as they are, they're kind of boring to watch. It's just boa-constrictor football. But that's because, and this really isn't anybody's fault, the Texas game wasn't a shootout. It wasn't really the all-star affair that we thought it would be. And they haven't really played anybody because Penn State imploded. And so they've had this sort of weak schedule leading into what will be like the biggest Big Ten championship and one of the biggest college football games that we've ever had in December in Indianapolis. More than likely, unless one of them loses. But I don't think one of them is going to lose until then.
You bring up Texas A&M. I want to talk about them because you can call it hashtag SEC bias all you want. I would also have Texas A&M as my number 1 team in the country. You go on the road at Notre Dame, beat Notre Dame, and then you have 3 consecutive road SEC victories, including an absolute splattering over LSU. What more does Texas A&M need to do to be viewed as a legitimate national title contender? And also, I'll add Marcel Reed as a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender.
Ooh, okay. I like that one. I think they're fine. I don't think they want to be viewed as any more legitimate than they are at this moment. I think what the best thing that's working for A&M is that somehow undefeated in the Southeastern Conference, they're lost in the shuffle. I think it's good from a narrative standpoint. Look, Mike Elko may go down as one of the best hires the last 15, 20 years in college football. Think about where this program was. They have every advantage possible financially. It's Texas A&M. They handed Jimbo the keys to whatever he wanted. They had a sort of gaudy, if not poorly constructed roster through NIL. Like they paid a lot early. They were early adopters into like, oh, we can pay these kids now. Look out, right? Who wants an oil derrick? Who wants a ranch? So that was great, but it didn't work because he didn't understand what he was doing. Mike Elko is the unglamorous solution to the problems at premier programs. And I'm curious if this is going to replicate in some of the open jobs that we have right now. Mike Elko is not a great quote. He's kind of boring, right? Just kind of this ho-hum football type Jersey guy. And he has A&M at a level of efficiency we have not seen in the modern era. Full stop. You cannot give me a better time, a more consistently successful time at A&M in a single season. It's not there. Johnny Manziel was like a roller coaster that fails a safety inspection. It was fun, but you didn't want to do that every week. And also, they were losing the games that A&M is grinding its way towards. Are they perfect? No. I think they're on equal footing with Alabama and maybe even Georgia, to be honest. But look, they're going to walk into Atlanta provided they beat Texas. I know that's a big provided, but I also don't think it is. Texas has played, Arch has had one complete game in conference play. That's it. Like, I would default to what Colin Klein's doing with that offense. He's going to be a hot name, by the way, in head coaching circles. The offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, quarterback at Kansas State, if you're old. So I like everything about A&M right now. And if you can somehow be successful and quiet in the SEC in November, you're going to take that every time.
All right, let's go to the opposite side of it. Are we sure the ACC deserves a spot in the college football playoff?
Technically, they don't have to have one. It's the 5 highest rated conference champions. So walk with me for a second while we go through the dregs of college football. We can get the ACC out of here, Fitz. Is that what you're trying to do?
I mean, I just don't want one of these suck teams to find their way in. Go ahead.
These suck teams. All right, you're your UNLV guy, right?
Yeah. All
right, let's go to what's left of the Mountain West. You could theoretically have one that had San Diego State beaten Hawaii in the middle of the night on Saturday/Sunday. That could have been a case. James Madison only has one loss, and it's to Louisville. Okay. The reason why I'm saying this is in that circumstance, you would have to jump multiple group of 5 programs. The reason why it's not going to happen, Fitz, is that in last Tuesday's ratings, they didn't even have a group of 5 team in the 25. So The Memphis that you saw in the bracket, that's a placeholder. So what the committee did, this is the first time they've ever done this, they said, we rank the 25 best teams in college football. We know it has to be the 5 highest rated conference champions in as a lock, but that actually hasn't happened in our 25. So if that were to happen on the last day of selection, when it actually matters and it's not a dumb TV show for ESPN, you would have to keep ranking. And they will do this. Ross explained this in the College Football Inquirer. Subscribe. Fast Network. Well, you're here right now. Keep doing it. Tell your friends. You have to keep going through like the 30s or potentially 40s to find the next highest, to find the first highest rated G5 team. The problem with the ACC, Fitz, and I'm not saying I disagree with you on the quality, like, because you could have like a 4-loss Duke team win the ACC. That's mathematically possible. And then technically go to the playoff. You would have to have 2 conference champions better than them. And I don't know if that's going to happen this year because it's also not it's not the best year for the group of 5. That's why I maintain right now, if I'm Georgia, I have the sweetest spot in college football. If I'm a Georgia fan, I want to win out, and I want A&M and Alabama to win out. And here's why. I don't have to beat myself up in the SEC championship game. Remember how injured? Do you remember how physical that game was last year against Texas? You lose your quarterback, and then ultimately you lose the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame. You don't have to do that. You are in the college football playoff. You've beaten Ole Miss. You have the resume. You'll beat Georgia Tech in my scenario in Atlanta in the same stadium. Skip the SEC championship. Go in as the 5, and then you could play someone like South Florida, North Texas. And this year we don't have Ashton Genty. We don't have a Boise State team that's capable of scaring people. You are going to get as close to a gimme as you can in the playoff bracket as the 5. So that's why the ACC sucks, to go back to what you were saying. I just don't know if we have enough capable conference champions to jump anyone. It's going to end up being, if I had to put money on somebody right now, I'd say it's Georgia Tech. They'll probably grind it out. Although, watch Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not terrible. They have Notre Dame this weekend. If you can only watch one college football game of consequence for the postseason, this weekend it's Pittsburgh Notre Dame, as we all thought in preseason. We're all going to Old Heinz Field to watch Pittsburgh play college football.
You can watch him on College Football Inquirer. He does great work there, and he's
Where's my mug?
Spectacular.
Where's my
your
mug?
mug is in the mail. Your mug is in the mail. I personally mailed your mug.
I'll believe it when I see it, Fitz.
Okay. You know what? You know what? Your mug and a thank you card were both in the mail. So, like, I expect full acknowledgement when you get it.
Still tea, by the way.
How good my penmanship is. Sure.
Fitz is going to be blaming that pesky USPS for you not having a mug on your doorstep.
Just checked with the front desk in my building. No package from Fitz. And yet I still do the show.
Government shutdown. It's just all comes back to a government shutdown. That's the only thing I question. Let's see. Now we made it political. Now we got to let him go. Stephen Godfrey.
Y'all next week.
Twitter X. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks. Have a great week.